don't say I wake up and I have to go to work, or have to be with my family, or I have to do this. They say you wake up and wait a minute, I'm alive. I live in a free country. I get to do these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? I get to get up and go train. I get to exercise. I have the freedom to do all these things. And that's what, to me, like the freedom of being an entrepreneur is all about.
What's up, everybody? This is Anthony for a new episode of Your Brothers Podcast. Today, my guest is Mr. Coach John. Coach John is the founder of Life is Hard, Fighting is Easy. He's going to speak with us today about going through adversity with martial arts, becoming a better person, having confidence, and how to use health to become the best version of yourself. I met John a couple of weeks ago through the 10X community, and we instantly shared common values and ways to think about life. So it's a pleasure and honor to meet you today, my friend, and welcome to the show.
Awesome, Anthony. It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.
All
So,
right.
John, usually with my guests, what I like to start with is just to go back in time when you were a little John, and were you already in the martial arts from a very early age, or it came later in life?
No, so yeah, my martial arts journey started when I was 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So
So quite, yeah, young.
yeah, so quite young. My parents, so I had a lot of energy when I was a kid, just bouncing back and forth everywhere.
Yeah.
And I have a son now, and he has the same energy, so I can see
Mm.
what my parents went through. So I had a lot of energy. They didn't know how to really control it. I also had some anger issues. So they found karate. They found the nearest karate school, and they said, "Okay, we're putting you in there." And instantly, I fell in love with it. Right, the karate, the master, he was very strict. He was no nonsense. He made us do push-ups on our knuckles.
Mm.
And after that, I started watching just kung fu movies and like Bruce Lee, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all that, all that stuff. And then I fell in love with martial arts. So my journey then, back then, I was born in Jamaica, St. Andrews, Jamaica. Then my parents moved to the States, and then they found me a Taekwondo school. So I went through all the belts in Taekwondo, got my second degree in black belt, and then I wanted to do something more. I did tournaments, but I wanted to do something more physical, like punching and kicking people.
Mm-hmm.
So I went to college, moved up to Boston, to Massachusetts, and I found Muay Thai. So Muay Thai is what I've been doing since I was 21. So that's like about 18 years now.
Mm-hmm.
And from then, I got to really fight. So I got to go in the ring. I got
Yeah.
to do Muay Thai. It was awesome, amazing experiences. Then I transitioned to MMA, mixed martial arts, and some Brazilian Jiu Jitsu under my belt. So I have
Uh-huh.
a very wide range of martial arts.
Yeah. BJJ, are you brown belt, purple belt, black belt?
No, no.
Or
So
it's grappling for MMA, so you don't have belt. Yeah, it's different.
I have belts. So I have my blue belt. I've had my
Uh-huh.
blue belt for about 10 years,
Yeah.
just because I've switched schools so many
Uh-huh.
times.
Gotcha.
So still a journey.
That's
Yeah.
man. Look, I'm not gonna start an argument on like belt colors. It's just like I remember my coach in Quebec. He just received his brown belt, and he's 40 something, and he's been doing this for his whole life. Like just because there's gi and no gi,
Right.
and sometimes if you just have life is going on and you cannot be in the same system to receive your belt, but it doesn't mean that you're not practicing every day.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah.
100% true.
So, okay, so that was part of your physical journey, but if I remember well, at first you were not, so you were in a more traditional path for education, like engineering or something. Am I correct?
Right. Yeah. So I wasn't always into business. So now I own the business. Life is hard,
Mhm.
fighting is easy. But back then, all I was thinking about was I was going to school. I went to Northeastern University for engineering,
Mhm.
right? And that was how I thought I was going to make my money. And then I was just gonna fighting was a hobby and was a passion. It was
Yeah.
just something I love to do on the side, right? So um, I went to school for engineering. All during that time, I was training, I was training, and then fighting on the nights and weekends. Then I did engineering for 10 years, and I realized that this is not the path for me, right? This is not what I want to do.
How did you know that? What was like the feeling of, because I think most of my audience will be people who want to transition from employee to entrepreneur, and maybe they
Right.
want to get out of this cast of society, like I'm supposed to do this because it's a good salary and my parents told me this. So how did you break out of that? Because I think also your father maybe was an influence for your profession.
Yeah. Yeah. My father was a mechanical engineer,
Mm.
and I was just going down the same path. But to rewind back, even when I was a kid, and I told you I couldn't sit still, I had a lot of energy. And I was like, how do people sit still from 9 to 5 every single day and just get up
Yeah.
and go to work? I saw my dad do that. But then one day, I remember I read the book called Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Hmm.
right? And that's when it opened my eyes because, right, I only had one path. When my parents moved to the States, they said, become a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. So I followed the
Very
engineer path.
classic,
But I,
very conservative. Yeah.
yeah, very conservative. But then that book kind of opened my eyes. I remember this was around 2014, a year before my son was born.
Hmm.
And then I said, wow, there's a different way. And my parents always told me this you can't make money doing martial arts, or I used to break dance as well. So they said you can't make money doing break dancing and martial arts. And I said, no, I want to be a kung fu man. I want to be a Jackie Chan, a stunt man,
Yeah.
right? And then I saw Jackie Chan broke all the bones in his body, and I said, well, no, I don't want to be a stunt man anymore. But that switch hit for me um, when I read that book, right? Kind of opened my eyes. And then the journey from there is, for me, once I make a decision, it's kind of like the martial arts like mindset in me. Once I make a decision, nothing's stopping me. Like I
Yeah.
go 100% forward down that road, right? So in my mind, I made the decision, and I just started on personal development first, and then I started making a plan. So 2014, 2015, I found out my wife was pregnant,
Mhm.
and then the switch really hit, and I was like, nope, I'm gonna do something now or never, right?
And why this the pregnancy? Because you were thinking about how I'm going to provide and if I'm going to be even more stressed because of the work instead of doing something else.
Exactly. Yeah. The work path, even though it was consistent income, it was not like my home life balance. I was having a lot of anger issues still.
Mm.
The only time I would feel better was when I was in the gym and I'd
Yeah.
come home. Sometime my wife would say, no, go to the gym. You're too cranky. Get out of here. Go
Yeah.
train and then come back. So I knew like that's where I was good. That's where I felt like I was the best, my best self,
Hmm.
right? Um, my other transition happened when I had to stop fighting because I got a major concussion.
Yeah.
So I think we
Speak
talked a
about
little
that. It's
about
an
this.
interesting story. Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. So one day before one of my major fights, my major mixed martial arts fights, I was going down the road to become a championship. I was going to fight for belts and then go back. This was in mixed martial arts. Then I was going to go back to Muay Thai and then do professional Muay Thai. But life said no. Life said I had a concussion. Um, I had all these symptoms for about a year,
Wow.
like
One
like
year. Oof.
yeah, like dizziness. I couldn't walk straight. I couldn't really train. I couldn't really fight. And my
Yeah.
coaches, thankfully for them, they said we're not gonna put you in the ring until we feel it's safe for you to go back. But I just never felt right getting
Mm.
hit in the head again.
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a major transition, which made me say, okay, let me switch to coaching.
Was
Let me
there a
try
grief
this.
period for you, John? Like any grief of like I need to let go my identity as a fighter and just okay, I'm gonna be a great coach, but for now it's a bit painful to think I'm not gonna be the performer in the ring or in the octagon.
It was hugely painful. Yeah,
No.
it was like a huge mourning period, right? Because that was a major part of my life. Fighting was like it's fighting is easy is the name of my company, but that's also my philosophy.
Hmm.
That's where I felt like I was fully in control of everything. And Even though this person's trying to punch me, trying to kick me in the face, I still felt, I felt great doing it. So there was a huge mourning period after that. Yeah, and I just had to get through it. I just had to push through it.
There was no specific tips to help you. Just you just went every day, like every day is a new day, and eventually it felt better. Or there was something else, maybe more mentally speaking, that you could share to help you. If somebody else is going in a similar transition, not necessarily physical, but maybe through a breakup or through the death of a loved one, and just you feel this emptiness, could you feel it with something else, or you think it's valuable to just sit with this feeling and it will pass with time and with appreciating yourself and just things as they are?
Well, I can't speak for anyone else, but
Yeah.
for me, I took the teaching moments um, as the moments that I could to spread my passion, right? To spread what I do to like the next generation of fighters.
Mm, yeah.
Um, so even though it was a hard transition for me because I would look at my training partners, they were going out to fights and even watching fights on TV, I would feel like there was like that emptiness inside,
Hmm.
right? So one thing was just um, kind of I had to just try and live through my students. Another huge thing, and this is what keeps me moving still today, right? Is teaching. I teach fighters, but I also teach regular like office professionals
Hmm.
who would maybe have no interest in fighting, but they want to get in shape. They want to
Yeah.
like feel like what
Lose
it is to
weight
train
and
and fight.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, so teaching them all the stuff that I learned the hard way, right? So a big example was like getting too many hits to the head, right?
Hmm.
Back in the day, this was back in the old UFC days, right? When
This was
when
normal.
yeah, when we there was no research on concussions,
No.
like headgear wasn't really a big thing, and so we just used to go in there, and it was just like let's just punch and kick each other, and there was no huge protection, right?
But
I
side
also
note,
went
John,
through.
do you sorry, do you believe in headgear? Because some have mixed feelings about, is it actually helping, or it can give a false sense of security and still create more injuries? Because I read some mixed articles about that. Maybe you can give me your expert advice on that.
Yeah, so a little bit of both,
Hmm.
right? So you I train all my students. I say you have to if you want to turn it up, right? There's a time and place to turn it up. But we're
Yeah.
not going to go 80 to 100% every single day, right? I teach my students to fight with control.
Mm.
So you can hit, punch, kick the bag as hard as you can. You can hit the pads as hard as you can. But when you're sparring with each other, right, only going like 40 to 50%,
Got it.
right? And then I say, if you guys show me you can do it with control, you don't need the headgear,
Hmm.
right? Because you're not going to get punched and kicked that
Yeah.
hard in the head,
Yeah.
right?
Got it. Yeah.
If you want to turn it up, we're going to go maybe one day a week where, you guys are going to fight, train hard, know what it's like, because I feel like everyone should know what it's like to get hit, right? To get like hit one time in the head so you know how you react.
I know.
Yeah.
I remember. So. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You had a story about that too, right? You got,
Yeah. I had a story about that, and I think I mentioned that in my first episode, my solo episode, my concussion too, and just like I don't, I remember the context. I remember the punch coming to my eye, but then I remember being on the ground and just like it was a flash knockout, but I remember just losing the contact between me being 6'4", standing up, and the tower fell down and feeling the mat on my face. Like, where am I? That was it.
yeah.
Yeah, very fast.
And yeah, it happens that way sometimes.
Mm.
When I found out, the doctors found out that my concussion was not one big blow to the head. It was repeated, like small little mini concussions that
Yeah,
happened over time.
that's even worse. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one day I was choked unconscious and I was out less than 10, 15 seconds. And then when I woke up, I said, "Whoa, I thought I was back in my apartment,
Mm.
but I was still at the gym."
Jeez.
And then that's how it happened, right? So when I teach my students, right, we train safely. We train so that you guys can go back to your jobs and you can go back to your life and you're not going to go back concussed or anything, right?
Yeah.
I learned the hard way so they don't have
So
to.
that's the positive side, I think, the of learning martial arts in an efficient and clever way. Like you will just go back. Of course, nobody is fully protected from accidents. It can happen. It's still a dangerous sport, even if you're controlled. Like even in jiu-jitsu, I remember I could. Okay, one of my friend broke his hand simply rolling, and just I heard a snap, and the hand was broken. Like these things can happen, but in any sports
Right.
and even not in sports. So it's to calculate the positive and negative. Okay, if I'm gonna just sit on my butt full day, is that more dangerous than going train with an amazing group of individuals, having this family vibe, becoming a better person, losing weight, becoming shredded, being more have bigger what's the word, endurance, stamina. It's like it's a
Yeah.
no-brainer. But just find your activity. If it's not MMA, it's fine. Just find something you like and go all in. That's my advice. And I spoke with that about that for many episodes already, and everybody agrees with me.
So, yes. So that's exactly my philosophy. My thing is that fighting doesn't have to be in the ring. Like you fight for whatever you're passionate about,
Mm.
right? If you're passionate about podcasting, right, you go 100% all in,
Oh yeah, I'm all in.
right? If you're passionate about accounting, right, I have no passion for accounting, but
Me neither.
maybe you do, right? But the people tell me like, fighting is not easy for me. And I said, well, what are you passionate about? Right? Some people, it's their kids. I say, you would fight 100% for your kids. They say, well,
Hmm.
yeah. Like, there's not even a second thought about that.
Yeah.
Right? So that's how I am. You know, that's how I am with my family too.
Mm. Do you cultivate this mentality? So if you have, it's okay, fighting is easy or whatever I'm passionate about is easy. If people don't have anything right now that they feel they want to fight for, or they're maybe a bit lost, a bit confused, like what's my path in the world, and they're in this transition, this just awkward situation. They maybe have a job and they want something else, but they don't know what exactly. What is some advice you can give them to figure out what is your unique path?
Yeah. So no, that's a really good question because I know a lot of people struggle with it. A lot of my students struggle with it too.
Yeah.
So what I did was I went back to when I was younger, right? When I was in that confused, what do I want to do kind of stage in my life. I said, wait, what did I do when I was a kid that I just felt like I was free, right? Sometimes when you're a kid, there's no worries, there's no bills, there's no,
Hmm. Yeah.
nothing else to worry. You just do what you want to do within reason, of what your parents say,
Hmm.
right? Um, but that's what I would tell people. I would say, do this exercise, take a sheet of paper, right? And just kind of take a few breaths. Do this when you're not feeling overwhelmed or stressed, and just write down. It's like when I was a kid, I loved to do whatever, right? I love to run, pretend I was an astronaut, right? I love to jump around and run. I love to sit and read, or I love to color, right? And then from there, that'll open up like a different line of thinking. Instead of what I have to do, it's like what I want to do, right? Or what I get up and what I get to do,
Hmm.
right? So
Right.
a little bit to take it a little bit off of fighting, um, a huge mindset shift happened for me when I said to my, and I heard this in a book. I can't remember which book, but they said, listen, don't say I wake up and I have to go to work, right? Or I have to be with my family, or I have to do this. They say you wake up and I wait a minute, I'm alive. I live in a free country. I get to do these things,
Hmm.
right? I get to get up and go train. I get to exercise. right? I have the freedom to do all these things. Like I don't have to, you don't have to limit yourself on anything. And that's what, to me, like the freedom of being an entrepreneur is all about, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
I,
beautiful, man.
yeah,
Yeah, I think like to have this mindset of freedom and appreciation, and I spoke about that also with many guests, the gratitude effect. And if you can appreciate what is given to you already every day, you can be so much more fulfilled, even if you don't have much materially, which is possible for many people who are just starting out as entrepreneurs. Everybody has bad days, yeah. And if you can just take this hardship, and I remember I saw a post from Grant this morning or yesterday. Crisis creates greatness, and I really like this quote because
yes,
when you're down to the ground, is this both in fighting or in life? And like, man, I have nothing else to give. This is not true, man. There's so much more to
no,
give, and it's just this little moment of infinity on this big, beautiful planet, and you're just spinning so fast in the universe, and you don't feel all of that. But there's
yeah,
this gravity, there's the sun exactly at the right angle to hit us, exactly the right degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit. There's like all these laws that you don't see,
yeah.
but because of that, you are who you are, and you have the capacity to go after
But
interesting goals and dreams and not be stuck where you are, because the only way you're stuck is when you decide that you let the situation control you, control your mind, and it's usually just an illusion, and you can just, you're in prison, you take the lock, it's not even locked, you don't even need a key, you just pull the metal part and the door opened by itself, correct?
that's it, man, man. So I think I left out a huge portion of my story. So
Go ahead, go
um,
back.
so like yeah, let me go back for a minute. Life is hard, fighting is easy. That didn't come to me when I was in the greatest of, like I didn't wake up and I was like, this is great, life is
Oh,
hard, but no,
inspiration.
like I was in a very, very low place. Like I was injured, like I had a major back injury, and that stopped my training. And my wife would tell me when I'm not training, I'm not myself,
Yeah.
or when I'm not training people. So I remember I was sitting on the train, and I was feeling very, very low, and I was just thinking to myself over and over. The thought kept repeating myself: life is hard, right? Life is
Mm.
hard. This is not controllable. Like, what am I doing? Where am I going with my life? And then I said, but wait, what's easy for me? What is can I do that's just makes things just like flow?
Mm-hmm.
And that was always fighting. I was always, since I was a little kid, going into the studio and just punching and kicking things. Really, that made me feel great. So I said, fighting is easy. And then I said, like, wait, what if I just take this slogan and I put it on a T-shirt? And I remember that same fight, that before the fight I got the concussion. I was like, let me put this on the T-shirt and let me just walk out to the ring with it, and maybe I can sell a few of them and
Mm.
just make a little bit more money, and then continue fighting, right? And then went to my, like, the people at my gym, which were huge supporters. My gym was Sit Yat Tong, right? They were huge in Muay Thai
Mm-hmm.
back in the day. And I said, guys, would you buy this shirt? Buy my fight tickets. Like, I'm going out to do my MMA fight. It's going to be big. They were like, fighting is, that's huge. Like, we love that. And I said, you like it? You really? And they said, yeah, they can sell us this T-shirt. We want a T-shirt. We want a T-shirt, right?
Mm.
And then a week before my fight, that's when the concussion happened. That's when I had to pull out the fight. And I said, oh man, I got to refund everybody their money.
Ah.
And then I was like, maybe they don't want the shirt anymore because they thought I was gonna fight. And then they said, what do you mean? No, we're taking the shirt. We're keeping these shirts. Like,
Yeah.
this is an amazing
The brand was
slogan.
already established by this little moment.
Exactly. And that's when I figured out, wait, maybe I can take this and build something out of it,
Mm.
right? And that's where life is hard, fighting is easy came from.
And did you have the same logo at that time, or it's a new logo, the one you have currently?
Oh, so the little boy,
Yeah.
So actually, that I just had the slogan, "The life is hard, fighting is easy." The little boy came from my wife because she's
Ah,
huge into art,
ah,
and I remember she made it from Adobe Paint,
really?
right? Hours and hours and hours of she just like, I'm like, how are you doing that? And she's like, I love this. She has a passion for art.
If you hear "I love something," that's because you let that person just do whatever he or she's doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the little face, so she called it Little Luda because my fight name was Luda. I had a big afro when I
Mm,
used to fight, like Ludacris.
yeah.
And so she made it kind of like animation style. And then the bandana, that's called the Mongol in Muay Thai. And that represents a fighter's like status.
Ah,
So if you ever, look up Muay Thai or
yeah.
fights, you'll see them wear these Mongols.
Yeah, yeah. This I know. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah. And that's what the little Luda, that little symbol came from.
Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So after, so you didn't have to refund them. It was okay. And from them, did you have a path from just being a fighter to having clients? Like, how did
Oh,
you become
so
a business from that afterwards?
yeah, so my plan was to take this in stages, right? Because like I was saying, my wife was pregnant at the time when I made this decision. So I knew that this was going to be the hardest sell that I had to make in my life.
Oh my God, I can imagine. I can
Telling my
only imagine.
wife who is pregnant that I want to go from a steady job with health
Oh,
insurance and dental and all this to no job and starting from the bottom again, right?
how did you do
So
it, man? That's very, that's, people must know about this because so many people will relate to having to do the hardest sale like this one from your love partner, and you're just, are you crazy? How many times my
and
wife told me, Anthony, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Why you don't have a normal job? But it's okay now. She gets it. Like as I move along and she sees I'm
right,
committed, it's different. But if you're
yeah,
not 100% in and you're not sold on yourself, then it's like you come across as a bit like not confident. And what if it fails? You cannot even entertain the idea of failure if it's your life mission.
yeah. All right. So since I come from an engineering background, I have a very analytical mind,
Mm-hmm.
right? I said, okay, I cannot just spring this on her. So I made a whole business plan. Like, I documented this whole business plan, which is nothing about what I'm doing now, right? It's changed so much over the years.
Yeah.
This is my fourth year in business full time. But back then, I thought I was going to do all these things and change the whole world, and um, but life gives you other directions.
Yeah. Always.
So I made the business plan, right? So when I first told this to her, and I was like, "Honey, I think I want to be an entrepreneur." Like I was just putting in little things into her mind,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not going to do engineering anymore. And then over time, she kind of got that I'm not happy in what I'm doing now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fighting martial arts. This is how I want to do. This is what I
Yeah.
want to do, right? So she said, okay, you one pay off all your debts, right, with the exception of my student loans,
Mm-hmm.
which are still there. But she said, pay off all your other debts, right? Get at least $10,000 saved into the account, and then we'll talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay. So with that, came with sacrifice, right? So had to sacrifice all the stuff that we were doing, like going out for big dinners,
Mm-hmm.
buying her Louis Vuitton purses or high fashion stuff. So there's
Yeah.
always that sacrifice,
Got it. Yeah, of
right?
course.
But oh, and another huge mindset shift came when I told myself, um, okay, you're not just going into the job to do the job, right? And to do engineering and come out. This engineering is funding your dream,
Mm.
right? So I said, every time you get a paycheck, put it into the account because this is funding your dream,
Wow.
right? And then Just so something for people who are doing that transition. I thought 10K was like, oh, I'm gonna have a good cushion. No, 10K goes quickly. 10K went just like just ran through that 10K very,
Yeah.
very quickly, right? Um, there's a
So you
lot of
got
other
the
things like
10K. So you got this first amount, and then your wife said, "Okay, you're serious. You can continue." And then what was the yeah from this? Okay, I have a little cushion, but you still need to get known. So was it just with your network from gyms and people you already knew from fighting network, or you had a different way to find new clients and, as you said, those professionals who are maybe just looking to get fitter and lose weight?
so in the beginning it was a little bit easier for me because I was at a gym already.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at a gym that I became a trainer at. So people would go out and they've already seen me fight. So this was in Massachusetts. So a lot of those people would come and be like, okay, hey, can you help me train? I was learning how to be a trainer back then,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like 12 years ago or so. And I was like, okay, I'll do pad work for free because I was learning as well. I was like, you guys are helping me, I'll help you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. So while I was working engineering, um, I would take some side to side from training, and I would just do pad work for them. So I just kept building, and then I started, okay, I need to make a little bit of money off of this. So I started charging people, right?
How
And
much you were
then
charging at the beginning when you were, yeah,
too
rookie?
low, way too low.
Too low.
Um, I don't remember off the top of my head. It was way probably half as much as I'm charging now, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
$50 for an hour,
Yeah.
something like that.
So I don't
But
know what is the
again,
normal price, so I cannot compare. Yeah.
yeah, like it was so one hour of all the experience that I went through
Yeah.
as a fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Now I realize, right, what
50 is
people are getting
nothing.
from me now
Yeah.
is not just, hey, I'm teaching you how to, be strong and lose weight and fight, learning how to defend yourself, right? What they're getting is all the lessons that I've learned over countless hours and hours of training, right? Since from my Taekwondo days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also got certified as a personal trainer, and then I got certified as a yoga instructor. So what I bring people is not just like you're gonna learn how to fight. You're gonna learn how to fight and be a well-rounded person,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
right? So if
That's.
you want to if you want to come to me and be like, Coach John, listen, I just want to go and I just want to fight and spar, right? And I'll be like, okay, I can teach you that, right? But most of my clients, right, they come to me, they're like, no, we want to be like, want to be more like you. Like they see
Mm-hmm.
you've got this side where you were a fighter, you were hardcore, but then there's this other side, softer side,
The sensei, the
yeah,
master.
which I'm like, okay, I can teach people how to chill, breathe, calm down, do yoga, and just be, right?
Man, that's very beautiful. I like this idea of having the balance. I know, like in life, okay, some people will disagree if you need to have a work-life balance, like professional or personal. But in this case of physical, I think it's very important to balance the yin and the yang, the masculine and the feminine. Like, I'm using stereotypes right now, but people will follow. Like the hard impact, aggressive bones on bones, and the
Hmm.
yoga, the tide, the water, the flow, the moon energy, just like this. It's if you don't have both, eventually you will have injuries and you will have just setbacks. I had this many times, just balls to the walls, and then you're like, man, I'm exhausted. My
Yeah.
adrenals are fried. I feel horrible.
Yep.
I didn't stretch. I didn't do any yoga, and I didn't feel like balance at all. So tell us more about that because you're certified in both. So that's quite cool.
So yeah, so I didn't kind of like you. I was going very, very hard into my training through my teenage and then early 20s, right? Those are my were my main fighting days. I did zero stretching, right?
Man,
In the gym, it was a bunch of, mostly guys who were like, we're just gonna train. Stretching is not. It wasn't a popular thing back then,
no, I can imagine. Yeah.
right? But then, I started to get older, and my body started to scream at me. And then I found Bikram was the first hot yoga, and once I started doing that, I started like my body said, okay, we feel refreshed,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'd come out of a 90-minute yoga session like I was a new person. So that's when I realized that, yeah, there's something to yoga, there's something to breathing and stretching that will it won't stop your training. It will enable you to train longer, right? And I think that's what you're seeing in the younger generation in like these MMA fighters now. Like they're realizing that nutrition is important, that
Mm-hmm.
yoga is important. Like I'll tell you a quick story. If you heard of the Diaz brothers,
Of course.
yeah. So those guys, right? People look at
Animals.
them, they're like the Diaz brothers. They're so crazy, right? But I think they're from hardcore streets in Massachusetts,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the way they were brought up. Um, but I read an article or I saw like one of them, I think it was Nate, would just sit under waterfalls and meditate.
Hmm.
And I saw that and I was like, what? You would just meditate? And then the other fighters, I think this was on the Ultimate Fighter. They were like, what is he doing? Like to meditate? Like, what are you sitting down and breathing? You should be training. But if you are just going, like you said, hardcore all the time, 100% forward, and you don't take that time to build like yourself up mentally, you're just gonna crash out.
Yeah.
You're gonna crash and burn, and you don't want to crash and burn when you're in the middle of a fight.
Mm.
Like that's not the time, right? Or if you're not a fighter, if you're in the middle of a meeting that's super important, right? And you've built your nerves are on edge, and you're sitting there and you're like nervous and anxious, and you're like, what if this meeting doesn't go well? And that's what meditation is for, right? It doesn't have to be for anything spiritual. It doesn't have to be anything religious. It can just be like you being in the moment, right? Like we're sitting here talking,
Yeah.
right? Just taking a step back from being at 100% all the time to just being, right?
To just be in this moment where everything is going so fast around us, and the kid, the job, the news, the economy, politics, everything is around us, and like just giving you this, oh man, like life is hard, as you said earlier, life is hard, but how can I remain in the present and keep control of who I am? Because okay, I cannot change much things around me, but what can I change? I can change my perceptions, and I can change my
Right.
state of being in the here and now in my physical body, and that's, I think, is the first stone that you need to build anything else on top of that. Correct?
Yeah. And if I were to go back, like I wouldn't change that many things, but I would have started my yoga, my meditation practice a lot earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I think I would have been a lot better off, like mentally. Right? And
Yeah.
I just want to say, like, I didn't go through my experience without any help. Like, I got on my transition from engineering to being an entrepreneur, I got business coaching, right? For like my anger, I went to see a psychologist,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that helped not only me, but it helped my relationship with my wife.
Yeah.
Because this one thing I see, because we're both in the 10X with Grant Cardone, which is phenomenal. But one thing I see with Grant Cardone, which made me go towards him, is that he's still married, right? he's still married and he has his family and he's got that all together.
Yeah.
At least that's what we see, right? That he
I
has it
think
all
they're
together.
they're genuine. They look very authentic when they're together. And when I was watching The Undercover Billionaire, when it's moments with his family, like I was almost crying myself. If it's organized with the show, then they're very powerful actor. But I would really doubt that, because to see how much it was difficult for him to lie to people he didn't know because of his addicts year when he was taking drugs and lying to everybody. Like I was also lying to everybody when I was taking drugs.
Mm,
Then you can see you don't want to lie anymore, and then you're authentic and you love your family and you want to build this business for your family, but eventually just this family energy is spreading to community and then to maybe province or region or state and then to country and then internationally. But you have
yeah,
to start with just, man, this is my family unit, we're very strong together. Of course, we everybody has hard times with the spouse or with the kids. It's just part of your own school of life, I think, because somebody who's single, and nothing wrong with being single, but if you're single, it will be a way different challenges on a day-to-day basis than if you're at home in the same four walls. And now we can jump into the COVID situation, because there is something interesting for me here. When you're stuck in four walls with the same people every day 24/7, and there's no escape, and 2020 to 2022 it was like this.
oh man,
How
yeah.
did you live that, man? And how did you
Oh
bounce
wow.
back in your business, so personal and business, during COVID, please?
Oh man. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was rough. I mean, we all went through it, right? In
Yeah.
New York City, that's so I'm based out of Queens, New York. So New York, everything shut down, right? Especially the gyms. Like when this first happened and they said NYC is shutting down, first it's like there's this panic that sets in, right? There's this like, uh-oh. I remember I was out training out of a boxing gym, and first I called the owner, and then he said, "Nope, we have to shut down. The
Hmm.
mandated everything is shutting down." And it was rough. Right, I lost about 70% of my clients during that time, because different things. They were furloughed. Some people just never got back to work. Um, I'm just trying to think, like, and on the family too. Yeah, it was tough. So at that time, and I don't know why, maybe because I'm a little bit crazy, I decided, my son was just going into first grade at a new school, and I was involved in the parent teacher association, and they were said, "Who wants to be the PTA president?" And then nobody stepped up. Right, this was right when COVID was happening, and they said, "There's going to be no PTA president." So for some reason, I raised my hand and I said, "I'll do it." I had no experience in being a PTA president. I didn't know what I was doing. And we were just going through that whole hybrid model of the hugest failure that I've seen in the
Wow. Yeah.
education system is that, so the good thing about me being an entrepreneur was that I could take that time and I could be home with my son, and I could, whenever he needed me to be there, I was there for the hybrid teaching. Um, but also I was no income, right? This put a huge pressure on me and my wife, because my wife, she works in a nursing home,
Hmm.
and as you probably heard on the news, nursing homes hit so hard with COVID,
Yeah.
right? I was scared for her every single day that she went into work. Um, and funny thing is, she never ended up getting COVID.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I got it last year. My wife got it. I mean, not, my son got it, which was also very scary. Right, we got through it, but um, yeah. So it was a tough time. I just had to keep taking it day by day, and I just said, one day I was like, wait, what can I give back? Right? How can I take this time and give back to maybe my clients? They're going through very very hard times.
Yeah.
So I said, wait a minute. I just got certified with this yoga. I can do meditation. So I started doing free meditations for people, like through Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
And I cleared out one space in my apartment, and then we just built a home gym, and I started doing free fitness classes. Like it was mostly like my family, some friends and clients.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, guys, come on, this is free. We're all going through this. Like, let's do this. And then I did it for the PTA, right? I was like, since I'm the PTA president, I don't know how to be a PTA president, but let me give back to what I know. So that's how I was able to get through it, just by giving back, right?
Giving back, yeah, man. And
Yeah.
so you gave back, and at the time, so your business, so gym shut down, big loss of your clientele. Which kind of transition did you have in order to become more online? I think now you have an app, if I'm correct. So maybe you can speak
Yeah.
about this transition from physical to digital, and was it difficult? Is it still difficult? And why you think maybe it's the way of the future, and there will always be a place for online training like you do right now?
So 100%. I would never say that the in-person, especially with martial arts training, the in-person experience of training,
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
quite
think
different.
that's gonna go away,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because
Very
both
powerful.
with I teach martial arts and self-defense, and I cannot teach you self-defense over the internet,
Yeah, of
right?
course.
It's just not gonna work, right? I can teach you moves. I can teach you, if you have a little experience, right? And you want to do virtual training, I can teach you moves, and it's worked for some clients, right? Some clients switched to virtual training, and then they didn't go back because
Mm-hmm.
they weren't comfortable. They're still not comfortable, right? Going back in the gym setting.
Yeah.
But hugely, the especially with the shift from employees not being in 100% in the office anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right, to a kind of a hybrid model or working remotely, that remote training, virtual training, and I don't know if the metaverse is going to take off or not. I'm still watching that, right? Because some people have told me, like, you should get in the metaverse and just train people like that, be an avatar. And
I don't know. I like
I don't know.
physical contact. I think it's
Yeah,
still, you cannot feel the same connection. And imagine, yeah, having the headset while training. I don't know. For me, I would prefer to hire you in person all day, every day for the rest of my life than just metaverse. I think it's a conflicting situation. Some people like it, some people don't like it. What about personal data? How it will be? I personally, I'm not a
yeah.
big fan of that. I prefer the face to face, and of course now we're blessed to have Zoom and StreamYard and like what we're doing right now. But if I had the chance to meet you in New York, I would love to do it also. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, but you have those app like Peloton,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Mirror. So those are, while they're not going to take the place of personal trainers, some people are going to gravitate towards that, and they're not going to go back to in-person training.
Yeah.
So I think there's going to be there's already been a huge shift to virtually, not just with training, but with whole life,
Mm-hmm.
right? But I still think there's always going to be a place in martial arts for in studio, in person contact. Um, you're never going to learn how to spar over the internet. Like
Nah,
that's just,
nah.
yeah, right.
There's no way, no way.
Yeah, like I
You
was
can
saying
move.
before, like I asked people in their 30s, in their 40s, have you ever been into a physical altercation? Like, have you ever been hit?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them tell me no, and it used to surprise me. But then my background has always been in martial arts, so I've been in that world and around these like-minded people for a very long time. But then everybody else is like, we don't want to get in the face. Like, you're a little crazy. So I realized that, like, people don't want to get hit, right? They want to defend themselves. They don't
Mm-hmm.
want to learn that experience. But if you don't know that experience, you ever seen the movie Fight Club?
Yeah, of course.
One of my favorite quotes, it's on my Facebook profile. How much can you know about yourself if you've never been in a fight?
Mm, I like it.
And, and when he said that to me, that really stuck with me. And I could talk a whole another hour about the movie Fight Club and
A different time, a different day.
yeah, a different day. But
Yeah,
that stuck with me. And since I had been in all these in the ring fights, not many out of the ring fights, right?
which is good. We try to avoid these
Because
ones, even for top guy. I think that's one of the best thing for any martial artist is to have the discipline and the integrity to not seek altercation outside the gym. And most of the professional fighters, they don't search any problem, they don't seek adversity, they don't seek enemies in public. But of course things can happen. Doesn't
yeah,
mean I've like from UFC fighters you've seen some scandals and stuff like this, but this is
yeah,
not giving good rep to the sport. If you go, hey, I'm a UFC fighter, and you just go knock somebody in the street of Las Vegas, you look like a fool. That's it, and you are gonna be
yeah.
banned from maybe the
They're gonna
sport, and it's not nice.
yeah,
So
we're in a culture right now that you cannot do anything and it's not gonna go on the internet. So
yeah,
if you're a professional fighter, by the way, like you see fighting on the TV. If you're not out there and you're not like you don't know the sport, professional fighters, they're not the ones going out looking for trouble, right? Professional martial artists, like we know how to do it. That doesn't mean we want to do it. That doesn't mean we're gonna cause trouble, right? Most of the fights and the people that you see are like the outliers, right? So like they say like if you kind of similar to if you don't have money, they say, oh, people who are rich, they're all like bad people. I said, no, they were probably bad people before, and then they got rich, and then they're still bad, right?
hmm
It's the same with fighting. Like if you were kind of an a-hole before, and then you learn to fight, and then you didn't take the actual martial arts like self-discipline and um, knowledge of yourself and everything that comes with being a martial artist. You just said, no, I just want to be a fight and I'm still going to be a jerk. Those
yeah,
are the people that, you know, usually they're the ones that are getting kicked out of gyms,
yeah,
right? Those are the ones that can't be, they're not going to last long in the sport,
no,
right?
and they will repel people who are there for the right reason. It's just it's a
Exactly.
turn off, man. People who are like this, like who really enjoy having to face and deal with these kind of people in general. It's yes, you can have physical skills, okay, you can have technical skills, but if you speak like me, like trash, so let's speak to me like trash, why would I even spend 30 seconds of my precious life with you? Just go annoy
Exactly.
somebody else, and eventually, maybe they will wake up, maybe they won't, but that's not of our business.
Yeah. Who to watch out for are MMA fans, right? So you have a lot of these people on the internet. They call them trolls, and they just they'll watch fights and they think they can do it, and then they go to a bar and they get drunk
Mm,
and they want to cause problems, or they'll go to a fight. And I've seen this. I've seen this in one of the UFC events that I went to.
yeah.
That this guy was behind me. They got too drunk. They decided that they wanted to fight because they
Hmm.
were seeing it, and then it's not a good situation,
Ugh,
right?
that's no.
The ring in the cage, like they have rules. They have rules to protect the fighters,
Yeah.
right? Out in the streets, there's no rules. So in my self-defense training, like I don't teach people in the ring fighting because there's no rules in the street. I say if you're gonna have to defend yourself, you're gonna have to go all in. Like you're gonna have to hurt this person.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of my female clients are like, oh, you don't want to hurt. Like we can't do this move to you, Coach John. I can't choke you out. I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not your coach right now. I'm this person trying to harm you. So you have to choke me until I tap, right? Just a second. Let's switch to my
Charger.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm still here.
Mm-hmm.
Just my phone is running low on battery. I
Yeah.
just had to switch out from my headset.
Okay, it's fine. We have all your 5 minutes left anyway, so everything is fine. Yeah. So, John, from your like all the experience and expertise, maybe what are some nice lessons that you can give from martial arts to real life? And this is not my last question, so my last question is a bit different, but maybe just before the last question, things that you learned from being a martial artist and you can apply to your life today, and how people who don't have your background can also apply them today.
Oh, absolutely. So, hugest lesson I've learned from martial arts, right? Um, and this is because my some of my clients even ask me, like, how do you keep the self discipline, or how do I change my mindset? And I said, forget all about that, right? Those are just words. Um, Life is gonna knock you down, right? Life is gonna sucker punch you.
Mm-hmm.
Life is not gonna be like, hey, here's this challenge today, overcome it, right? Here you go. No, like it's gonna sucker punch you. It's gonna come out of nowhere, right? All you gotta do is just keep moving forward, right? Just keep like one. I took this from Rocky, right? I take a lot of quotes, but I think this was one from his last movies. He said, "Take it one step at a time, one punch at a time," right? And that's how I do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, this the second lesson that I can teach from martial arts, like going through all this stuff, is that if you want to step out of whatever you're doing, if you don't like what you're doing in your job or your life, and you want to move to another level, like you have to step out of your comfort zone, right? Like nothing is going to happen, even if you were say you were making 250K or something like that, right, in your job, but then you're just going in and you're not liking the job and you're living for the weekend, right? What kind, like, you're not living a very sustainable life, right? If you're just saying I'm living for the holiday or I'm living for the weekend, and then you get drunk on the weekend, and or you take some stuff out on your family that's
Mm-hmm.
not their fault. Um, yeah, sorry, I lost track of my thoughts. Where was I going with that?
Well, I don't know, man. It's you can just finish like this. Like you had this, what you learned from martial arts. It was a second
Right.
lesson. Yeah.
Yeah. So
So don't like whatever is
no,
going on
okay.
inside of you. You don't
Yeah.
have to like release it, dump on people, and like if you have martial arts, it shows you how to control whatever is going on and like learn about yourself in this emotional way. Yeah.
Right. So it allows you to learn about yourself, but it also allows you to learn how to be comfortable in the most uncomfortable situations. Right. So when life throws those things at you, like those things that like seem like they come out of nowhere, you realize that, okay, like this is happening to me. For example, in jujitsu, um, you'll be some 250-pound person. Like I'm a smaller frame, 150 pounds,
Yeah.
right? I have to learn how to get out of it. If a 250-pound muscle-bound person is on top of me trying to choke me, not a good situation, right, for me to be in. But I have to learn how to breathe. I have to learn the moves. I have to learn the strategies to get out of there, and right. And maybe I don't get all the way out, but I get to a better place, and then I
Mm-hmm.
take it step by step until I get back to a more comfortable like situation, right?
Yeah.
But first, I have to get comfortable in something that's not in my comfort zone.
Man. So now I'm gonna ask you the last question. Maybe it's gonna be related. So if it is, then we can you can just wrap it up. But my last question is: if you see yourself 5 years from now, and people will look back at your episode in 2022, what do you want them to remember from your episode or from you as a person in your wisdom? What is the one thing that you would like to end with to on a positive and inspiring way?
Oh wow, okay.
Oh
Yeah,
well,
no, it's just the draw. Everybody,
yeah,
oh wow, Anthony, you just hit me.
yeah. Um,
Whatever comes up
well,
naturally, spontaneous.
like life is hard. Fighting is easy. Um, I mean, that's my philosophy and the legacy that I want to leave. Um, like for the next generation, for my kids, to teach people that. Well, let me think for 1 second,
Mhm.
because that's a loaded question. The one thing that I want to leave back. Well, first, I want to be a completely different person 5 years from now that I want to than I am today.
Mhm.
Right. So I think always striving to be better. Right. Never letting yourself settle into a comfort zone.
Yeah,
Right. Doesn't matter where you are, rich, poor, like millionaire, or just never letting yourself just settle into this daily rut or daily routine. Right. Always moving towards the next thing.
always move forward, my friend. That's amazing. John,
Absolutely.
thank you so much. How can people connect with you? So I know you have an amazing program and amazing coaching services. So now it's time you can speak about your marketing. So how can we connect with you if we want to learn more about your services or you as a person? If we want to just say thank you for this episode, you can tell us.
Awesome. So my website is fightingiseasy.com. So that's all one word, fightingiseasy.com. If you go on there, you'll see all my programs. So I do personal training, I do virtual training. If you are not in New York and you want to try my training out, if you go to my website, it'll say try the free app. Go on there, just hit it, try out that app, right? I will get back to you right away. I am also, you can connect with me on Instagram. I'm on YouTube and TikTok. So it's
Mhm.
all like
We're gonna put
fighting.
the links anyway in the description. I will put the link for you. Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll send you all my links. That'll be right in the description. Right.
awesome.
I'm on Twitter as well, but I don't go on Twitter as much.
Awesome.
Right.
So, guys, from on my side, it's Anthony Rivest, your host for Your Brothers Podcast. You can follow me personally on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram. Your Brothers Podcast on YouTube. I will be also audio version of on Spotify, Apple, and other platforms. Thank you so much for your time today. If you want to support me financially, there's a Patreon site, a Patreon link in the description. If you want to give some money to support the mission and this channel, feel free to do so. Thank you so much, John, for your time. My friend, it was amazing, and I really hope to invite you again in the future and have an amazing talk once again.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Anthony. It was awesome.
Okay, thank you
All
so
right.
much. See you guys. See you next time.
All right.